Cuba, meaning a beautiful place to live. One of the few communist countries in the world, but it harbors such an interesting life that it feels like another world, another time. If you're wondering what doesn't exist in Cuba, let's start there. There is no unemployment. Everyone is guided according to their talents while receiving education. And the difference in salaries between people is no more than 3%. So, a member of parliament and a waiter earn the same level of salary. There is no worry about what will happen to your child. There is probably no greater wealth than not worrying about your child. Women are required to take sports, health, and child-rearing training while pregnant. Since the child is considered to belong to the state, all education is equal and completely free. There are no homeless people living on the streets. In the most developed country in the world, America, 4 million homeless people live on the streets. But in Cuba, no one without a home is left without free accommodation provided by the state. There are no people who smell of sweat. Soap, shampoo, deodorant, perfume, and personal care products are provided free of charge by the state every month, and they are all Cuban-made. There is no fear of being ripped off. All shops and businesses are state-owned, and since the working waiters, workers, and officials are considered civil servants, their salaries are paid by the state. Since prices are set by the state, there is no chance of being deceived. And all products are free to a certain extent for Cuban citizens. When you exceed the limit, you can get what you want for very cheap. There is no money. Yes, you heard that right. The highest salary is 30 euros. But most people even find this unnecessary, because almost everything is free anyway. If you want, the state sends you and your family on a vacation to a place of your choice within the country every year. In all the countries of the world, there are restaurants and entertainment centers that the rich can enter and the poor cannot afford. But in Cuba, you can go anywhere. There is no discrimination. Because money is not used in the country, a worker and a doctor can easily go to the same restaurants and entertainment centers. Children don't even buy a pen until they complete their university education. All are more than adequately provided by the state. There are no hospital expenses or travel costs. All citizens of the country can easily eat the food they want. The state distributes 2 kilograms of red meat per person every month. Imagine a family of 4 getting 8 kilograms of red meat per month. Where else in the world is this? All food products are organic. Therefore, it is forbidden to set up chicken farms. Chickens are raised naturally in gardens. Using hormones is absolutely not allowed. There is no domestic violence. Couples, whether male or female, who cause the slightest physical harm to each other are sentenced to at least 5 years in prison. There is no worry about health. Cuba, an island country with a population of 12 million, is at the forefront of the world in the field of medicine. They are advanced enough to treat childhood leukemia at an 80% rate. 50,000 doctors work in the country. They provide free health services not only in their own country, but also in all South American countries, and even in many poor regions of Africa. There is no divorce because they don't marry. Instead of dealing with unnecessary paperwork in divorce, since there are no issues like property to share, alimony or money, they name their marriages with a verbal agreement in a celebration-like event with friends and relatives. Electricity and water are free up to a certain limit, but if you exceed the limit, you pay a small fee, like 0.50 Turkish liras. This fee is to prevent energy wastage. They care incredibly about nature. If you harm a street animal or cut down a tree without permission, you can be sentenced to high-level imprisonment. The state regularly distributes food for all street animals. All street animals have IDs. These IDs attached to collars include the animal's birth date, name, health status, gender, and region of residence. If there is any biting, loss, or death, the animal is removed from the records. According to the place of residence written on the animal's ID, veterinarians in that area must perform monthly health checks and send a report to the state. Since there is no concern for earning money or economic competition, you won't see any advertising billboards anywhere. No matter what job you do, there is no more than 6 hours of work per day. People can give more importance to their families and social lives. Dance, music, and entertainment are the most important parts of life. Everywhere is full of entertainment venues and street performers. People of all ages spend a significant part of their day singing or dancing at parties. All entertainment venues are state-owned. Entertainment continues uninterrupted 24/7, 365 days a year. All young people are definitely interested in a few sports. However, martial arts and horseback riding are at the top of these sports. The streets of Cuba are full of colorful antique cars. Although buying cars is free, people prefer antique vehicles over new cars. In fact, the highest car price is €100, and for a monthly payment of €2, the state gives you the model car you choose. Cuba opened its doors to the world just a few years ago, in 1953, with the uprising started by Fidel Castro and joined by Ernesto Che Guevara. After a long struggle, the dictatorship was overthrown, and a communist regime was established. Until a few years ago, America showed Cuba as the most dangerous country in the world and claimed that Cuban communists were hiding nuclear weapons. But the regime, which had full support from the people, could survive especially with the support of the Soviet Union. You can see posters of Ernesto Che Guevara and Castro everywhere in the country. They also respect all leaders who have fought against imperialism in the world. However, there is only one statue of a foreign leader in the country. That is the great leader Mustafa Kemal Ataturk. There is no one in Cuba who does not know Ataturk. He has a special value for them. The crime rate in the country is almost zero. In the country with a population of 12 million, there are an average of 2 or 3 theft cases per year. And people are incredibly happy. Many of the most beautiful beaches in the world are there. Most of the land has been declared a national park by the state, and it is absolutely forbidden to harm or touch wild animals. This is considered one of the greatest crimes. Surprisingly, there are no poisonous plants in the country, and the forests are full of natural fruits. If you visit Cuba, you will see almost all adults with a cigar. Smoking cigars is an old tradition for them and is consumed more than cigarettes. There is no religious discrimination in the country. No one will feel the need to ask you your religion, nationality, or what you do for a living because these things do not matter in Cuba. So much so that Malcolm X, who was the leader of black Muslims in America for a period, was a close friend of Cuban leader Castro and said that Cuba was his second homeland. However, most of the houses are still old. Due to the embargo applied by America for about 40 years and international pressure, Cuba has only recently been able to complete its development, as it was isolated by the world. All houses, streets, everything has started to be renewed in order. However, these renewal initiatives are being carried out so that they do not harm the texture of the cities, and all houses are being built in a colorful and gardened way. Especially newlyweds are allocated a gardened house by the state and for free. Pay attention to this house. This is the house where Castro spent most of his life. Yes, Castro, a state leader and a commander, spent his life in this house. His neighbor is an old woman. For 40 years, the Church and America defined Cuba as a country of devil-worshipping enemies of religion. Who have never forgotten the pressures and wars they experienced for many years. Remember Castro and Che with a love that brings tears to their eyes. Today, it is one of the rare countries in the world that is livable, humane, has a protected nature, and where people do not worry about tomorrow. For more content, you can subscribe to my channel. Enjoy watching.